Welcome to Legal and the Coach, a show set to present local and national trailblazers in business and celebrity circles like authors and speakers who will share their stories, struggles, adventures in life, and keys to their success, brought to you by Tough Talk Radio Network. Here are your hosts, David Altenburn and Brian Kaiser.
Welcome, friends, family, and listeners around the world. It's another show put on by the Legal Eagle, David Altenburn, and Brian Kaiser, the coach. We have a very special show today, focusing in on gratitude. I think as we head into the Thanksgiving holiday, David and I are lucky enough to have a radio show that falls right before the holiday, and being the prominent host that we are, we get to kind of give our take and help share some message about gratitude and things that are important to us, and things that I think we all need to refocus on, and that will refuel and rejuvenate the batteries as we head into finish the last month of 2014. Several things to point out and just make everyone mindful of. Dave and I have our first book coming up, and we're filling that up rather quickly. You can go to www.ajourney2success.com and get the application to do that. And secondly, want to throw a big shout out to our producer, Mr. Tony Gambone. I got an advanced copy, but I did have a few friends that read his new book, Las Vegas to the Promised Land. And I think that big shout out to Tony as we move into the year, because there's some very motivational messages in that book, and Tony shares a lot of gratitude towards the people that helped him along his journey. So just a quote to kick us off here, and David and I will banter back and forth about it, but one of my coaches has a new book out called the Motivation Manifesto. Some of you may have heard of Mr. Brendon Burchard, and one of the quotes in there that just really stuck out to me that I thought would be perfect for kicking off our show is, "Walking the grounds of gratitude, I came upon the palace of happiness." I think that's a very powerful message. If you combine it with another piece in his book where he talks about the journey to legend begins with the moment your bias for ease and comfort is overpowered by your drive for challenge and contribution, then you can really put forth understanding that when you enter the grounds of gratitude, you can find the palace of happiness.
Those are some powerful, powerful quotes to make you really think on this day of reflection. Really great start.
Yeah, and Dave, we're heading into Thanksgiving, and I know there's a number of things happening. For some people, it's a very stressful time. For other people, it's a very joyous time. Some people, even a sad time. But I think that there's a lot of things, especially for us entrepreneurs, there's a lot of things that we should be grateful for, because we're always in the process of trying to get more and wanting more and doing more and being better at what we do. I think sometimes it's just good to stop and reflect on what we have accomplished and who's in our life and what we do have.
I think it's some great thoughts there. In a little bit of my reflection, Brian, and it's so great to be a co-host of this show with you. This is a new venture for both of us, but it's been a great ride so far, and the best is yet to come, as they say. I got to thinking that we live in the greatest country in the world. We're free to make and create, to live, laugh, and love our own path to seeking our own definition of true happiness, our own American dream, if you will. And, we live in a great state. We live in one of the greatest cities in the world. Houston, Texas is the number one, you heard correctly, number one business startup city in America. We have the most entrepreneurial city in America. Years ago, Trammell Crow came down to speak at a business group here, and he pointed that out. And I think that has maintained over the years. We have a melting pot, between our oil industry and our medical community and our entrepreneurial spirit down here in Texas, in Houston, Texas. We've got a great economy, the greatest economy in the United States over the last several years when we faced the Great Recession. Our city was the most resilient of all. And I think you see that in the people. And so, we need to be thankful of those closest to us, our families, our friends, those that taught us along the way, whether they're still with us or not. And so I think, you always talk as a great business coach, Brian, about living life bold, with purpose and with gratitude. And I think starting today's show off with the focus on gratitude is a great way to start our show. What other thoughts do you have for our listeners before we get started with our first guest?
Well, like I said, Tony, David, sorry, I got Tony on my mind because I just I flipped over on the screen here to our Facebook page there, saw a posting. So, but as we go into Thanksgiving, the meanings of that are different for everyone. And I know we're coming into the end of yet another year, and as business men and women, we're looking forward to what we're going to accomplish in the new year. And I just remind everyone to take this time and kind of reflect on who you are and where you are, and make sure that you're surrounded with the people that are making you happy and bringing you happiness and adding value to your life. And if you're surrounded with people that are dragging you down and weighting you in any way, then maybe it's time to make a little bit of a change and start a new path for the new year. And not necessarily a resolution, but actually put together a plan and start on a path to where you can obtain that happiness that we're all searching for in the end. Because I think at the end of the day, that's really where we want to end up is, having people look at our lives and say, wow, that was a great person. I'm glad he was in my life. I'm glad they were a part of my journey. I'm glad they were instrumental in helping me.
And the thing, as we reflect a little bit here at the start, is that it's not only those people that make us the happiest, but if you think about it and think about your life and where you can give and make a difference to others, where you can contribute to causes larger than yourself, where you can get involved in groups, whether it's networking groups or charitable groups or groups that do good for others, there's great satisfaction, perhaps the greatest satisfaction of all, in giving of ourselves and seeing how we make a difference in others, how we add value to others. I'm a lawyer for 30 years in basically litigation fights, if you will, even though the great majority of cases settle. But yet when I got certified as a mediator about 15 to 20 years ago, there's great satisfaction in being a mediator and being the person that makes a difference in settlement for others when they're fighting and they can't settle it without your assistance. And so that's also a great thing. Being a host of a radio show and being able to give of ourselves and to have great guests that send out great messages, that if half of the great messages going out resonate with our audience and resonate with others, think of the difference that's being made silently out there by just having this platform as a radio show that we should be very grateful about. And we got started in this with Tony Gambone, who's a pioneer, a real pioneer in this internet radio platform, which is the wave of the future, where folks can learn from each other, can share with each other their struggles, their successes, their adventures, as the kickoff to the show kind of invites our audience. And so it is with great gratitude that we get started today. And so, Brian, you got any final quick thoughts before we go to our first guest and our first commercial break?
No, the only thoughts here is I've pulled up our first guest website, and I think the I think the folks are in for a treat. We're going to head into a commercial and bring up Jeff Rasley, who's an author, writer, coach, and he's also an attorney, David, and he's also traveled to Nepal and done some trekking up in the Himalayas there. So I'm really excited to get to know him right after we come back from these messages.
Did you know that an estimated 52 million Americans listened to Internet radio in the last month, or that weekly Internet radio audience has increased 60% over the last year, and that more than 8 in 10 people are online from any location? Tough Talk Radio Network is a company dedicated to providing a platform that allows opportunities for guests, hosts, and sponsors to market themselves through the Internet radio medium, where they can be heard by millions. To find out how Tough Talk Radio Network can help you, go to toughtalkradionetwork.com.
Feeling burnt out or lost on where to go next? Feeling like you own a job instead of a business, or that your business is running you instead of you running it? Expert business advisor Mike Calderwood can help. Mike uses a personalized, strategic, and proven approach to help you identify what is and isn't working in your business. He'll then help you establish an action plan so your business can thrive. Mike Calderwood, providing you straightforward solutions to gain a real advantage in your business. Learn more at mikecalderwood.net.
Listen to The Legal Eagle and The Coach each Wednesday from noon to 1 p.m. on Tough Talk Radio Network. Leading local and national experts in business will share their keys to success so that our listening audience can be educated and entertained along the way to becoming all they can be. So whether you're new to business or highly experienced, The Legal Eagle and The Coach with hosts David Alterburn and Brian Kaiser is a great radio program for you. For more information, go to legaleagleandthecoachradio.com.
Welcome back. The Legal Eagle and the Coach is ready to go live with our first guest. Jeff, are you with us?
I am. Good to be with you guys.
Good to have you. I'm
Welcome.
very appreciative that you were available and could come on the show on the day before Thanksgiving. It's always a good show to do, but sometimes tough because we do have, family and friends and things that we're looking forward to visiting with and socializing with for the day of Thanksgiving. So I appreciate you coming on.
Oh, happy to be here, and I really appreciate your intro about focusing on giving thanks. And I think it's a great thing that we have this holiday, but I also think it's something we should do every day.
Yeah,
great
you're absolutely
point.
right.
Excellent.
You're absolutely right. Well, Jeff, I've looked at your website and read up about you a little bit, and I listened to part of an interview you did with fellow co-host, Dr. Alan Simberg. And if you could just enlighten our audience a little bit with your journey. You've had quite a journey. I know you were an attorney and practicing law for over 30 years, and then you've also done some trekking in the Himalayas, and now you're an author, writing coach. So could you tell us a little bit about that journey and just about who you are?
Sure. I'm giving thanks every day that I don't have to practice law anymore.
Now. There's always a tax on lawyers, but we don't expect it from a fellow lawyer now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, if you swam with the sharks for 30 years, it's just hard to let go. But, I practiced law for 30 years, and the last few years I've been able to pursue other interests, and something I've always been involved with at some level is doing philanthropic projects. And so being away from the law has given me the time to really focus much of my energy on several philanthropic projects I'm involved with. But the main one is called the Bassa Village Foundation, and it's an organization which has 30-some members here in the U.S., most of whom are mountaineers or truckers, but not all of us. But we all have an interest in helping to develop Nepal. Nepal is the poorest country outside of Africa. $1.25 a day is the average income, so you can imagine trying to live on $1.25 per day. It's rough, and so those of us who have been in the Himalayas and have fallen in love with the beauty of that country, we've also just delighted in the people that live up in the high mountains because they have this wonderful ethic of welcoming the stranger and being very kind to visitors. But they're also the strongest and toughest people, I think, on the face of the earth. So it's an interesting combination that's reflected in their culture. And so we've developed this foundation to help build schools, develop water projects, electricity, just basic infrastructure, which the high mountain villages don't have. So that's been a big part of my journey in leaving the law. The other part has been writing and teaching. I teach a class in philanthropy at Butler University here in Indianapolis, and I've also written several books, two of which are novels, and the others are nonfiction, which focus on trying to promote some basic values, and Thanksgiving is one of those values. So this is timely.
Wow, you're so well stated, and this is David Altenburn here, and the Legal Eagle, I guess, on our show, and you seem like the perfect guest for this holiday, because one of the things we talk about and successful entrepreneurs often talk about is, we're taught as young children that, there's thoughts, there's communications, there's actions, there's our words, and there's our deeds, and a lot of things in success starts with what we call an inviting or a proper mindset. And one of the things you mentioned about giving thanks every day, and then you talk about philanthropy. I've got so many thoughts flying through my brain to ask your next question, but basically, here's, I guess, my question. On this special holiday, for those that have perhaps not gotten that involved in philanthropy, in charitable type work, where you give away yourself and your time and your talents and your treasure other than through your church, could you tell us what you teach in your classes in that respect of how people can get involved?
Well, the first thing is to think about and be a little introspective. What do you care about? What do you really care about? And you're probably going to come up with an issue that is meaningful to you, that either you've been involved with at some level throughout your life, or it's just something you've thought a lot about, or you have friends and families that are affected by it. And then that's where I would start, because your charity ought to reflect your own values. So, for example, if you really care about education, if you were a good student or a bad student, but had great teachers, or just something about education has been valuable to you throughout your life, then focus your charitable efforts on improving schools, or in some way, helping to educate other people. And that's sort of one of the fundamental messages that I try to pass on to my students, and that I've tried to write about and express, is what do you care about? What you care about reflects your own value system.
Great.
And then live out your value system by helping others.
Yeah, whether it's the environment or education, like you say, or poor countries like you've given in your personal example, where, we often take for granted the things we have in our great country until you travel around and you see others that are, struggling much more than us. So Great
Dan.
points.
So true. Other countries
Yeah,
don't have it as well as we do, and we take it for granted, a lot of the things that we have.
Well, we certainly do. A little meditative exercise that I do every night when I'm in bed and getting ready to fall asleep, I just say over and over in my mind, and I match it with my breathing, and I do the same thing when I wake up in the morning, is just thank you. Breathe in, thank, breathe out, you.
Yes.
Thank you. And because I feel so blessed in my own life, and I want to try to live that attitude of gratefulness. And, there's a simple little exercise anybody can do, plus it helps me fall asleep, and it helps me get up in the morning.
Yes, and we all could use a little quiet time. Whether it's meditation, it's yoga. Sometimes it's having the physical exercises of quiet time with not a cell phone ringing at your local gym. But you're right, that reflective thought, and I like what you say about the focus being on your values, what you really care about. You need some quiet time to figure that out, because you may care about a lot of things, but when you only have so much time, then you can look into the charities and the groups out there that get involved in those type of activities. So I guess my question to you would be, and certainly you had to be in a financial position to do so, but beyond the financial position to do so, what was, I guess, the triggering? Had you always planned to retire your career as a lawyer and get involved in these projects, or did it just kind of happen?
Dave. That was exactly where I was going to go. Perfect question. Perfect question. There has to be something that drew him to this journey.
I had always planned from early on not to spend my entire life as a lawyer. There's great things that lawyers do. When we're being lawyers at our best, we're helping people. And
True.
It should be a helping profession. Unfortunately, oftentimes it's a hurting profession. And there are many things that lawyers do that harm the economy and harm individual people. And while I did my best to try to be on the right side of that equation, there just being in the law, for me at least, always had a sort of icky aftertaste, because you're expected by your clients to win. They are not necessarily all that concerned about right or wrong or justice. What they want you to do is win for them.
And when there's two people fighting in the adversarial process, if I could interject a moment, because all I've done is litigation for 30 years, you know as well as anyone that at the end of it all, there can't be two winners. There's usually one winner, and there's one that doesn't come out that way.
Yeah. So about 25 years ago, when the alternative dispute rules were just coming into... Exactly. I wrote an article which was published in Newsweek magazine about mediation, and argued that this is an evolution of consciousness within the legal profession. Mm-hmm. This is the direction we should go for dispute resolution. Mm-hmm. And what's really interesting is I did hundreds of mediations because I think it is by far a much better method to resolve a dispute than litigation. But something that amazed and has fascinated me is that in the last few years I have come across two communities, one a little village in Nepal, and the other a Quaker meeting here in Indianapolis, that have been living that method of dispute resolution and decision-making for generations.
Oh, wow.
And this was actually the inspiration for the last book I wrote, that these two groups, the way they make decisions is they gather the community together and they discuss whatever the issue is, and then they take time for silent meditation. Then they have a final discussion where what should be spoken is just what has been brought to the surface through your meditation. And then they try to reach a decision as to what to do, not that's going to make everybody happy,
right,
but that everybody can live with.
Right.
So they don't vote on it. It's not a jury rule. It's decision by consensus.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing that it actually works. And I've seen
yes.
it work with both of these groups now.
Well, just as a little historical note, here in Houston, Texas, when I started practicing here in the 1980s, it took 5 years to get to trial on a civil matter because of the backlog. In 1984, mediation started in our country in the state of Arizona. It eventually spread, and thankfully it spread like wildfire, because now in Houston, Texas, you cannot get to trial unless you go to mediation, court-ordered mediation or by agreement. The great majority of mediations tend to be by agreement. And the statistical rate of success in mediation is something like 70 or 80%, and that's either in the mediation or within 2 weeks to 30 days after. So the big point here, as our guest has raised, it is a very successful and the psychology behind it is amazing, because it starts with venting or adversarial kind of approach. Everybody sees things with their rose-colored glasses, as we like to say, but at the end, the psychology changes to bridging the gap, bridging the differences, and as our guest has so aptly stated, seeing if there's a place where everybody can live with. And oftentimes, the settlement that results is everybody walks away a little bit unhappy, but that is the true nature of compromise, that we all give and take some. And in the end, guess what? There is huge relief on having a resolution. And so now we get to trial within a year to year and a half due to mediation. Just the one advent of mediation, probably the greatest advent to our legal system for someone here, at least as a co-host that's been in litigation a long time. So I agree wholeheartedly with our guest. And so that's awesome on your comments. So that's what led you on your journey to get away from the law and do what you really wanted to do.
Well, I wouldn't say that exactly that's what led me away, but it was certainly a theme that I was interested in. And in my journeys in Nepal, I discovered this community that made community decisions through that method. And then that community led me to the Quakers here in Indianapolis, because the Quakers offered to sponsor one of the projects that we were doing to bring electricity to that village. And lo and behold, I discovered this is the same way that they make their decisions. And, having written about mediation and having done so many mediations, it was just really cool to see a whole community using that same sort of method at decision making, as opposed to just an alternative to litigation.
Yes, and I think that's a great point, and it also teaches us about people. You know, we live in what we think is the most educated, brightest country in the world, and yet through your journey, you have found that communities from ancient times have figured out what we just started in 1984 in our legal system, a method of dispute resolution that brings the community together and focuses on solutions to the human differences instead of fighting. And so they found out from many, many years ago that it's a successful way. And it's actually, I think from a psychology standpoint within a community, a very healthy way to resolve disputes. Has that been your experience?
Exactly. And, compare how that works to how our Congress works. And, we're all so sick and tired of political gridlock. And you have the Republicans on the right, the Democrats on the left, and they're just beating each other up because instead of trying to focus on what do we have in common, what values we share, and then looking at the dispute from a pragmatic standpoint of how do we solve this as a problem, as opposed to how do I push my particular ideology or my particular political position. If they approached it as a problem to work on together, to just come up with a solution that works. Not one that necessarily lines up perfectly with my political philosophy, but one that's going to work and that that we can live with. And think how much progress we could make on all these issues that are dividing the country if that's the approach we took.
Yes, great thoughts. Any other questions, Brian?
No other questions. I really, Jeff, want to know how people can get in touch with you and learn more about what you do. And, of course, David and I will be reaching out to you on LinkedIn and Facebook to connect there and further the conversation. We've got to head into commercial break here in just 1 second. So if you could let the audience know, how to get in touch with you and a little bit more about your publications, that would be awesome.
Well, thanks. And, I hope we do stay in touch, you guys.
Sure.
The easiest way is through my website, which is www.jeffrey, Jeffrey, Rasley, RASLEY.com. And the website has links to the books I've written and also links to our philanthropy project and some links to cool photo albums about mountaineering in the Himalayas. So, that'd be great for anybody who's interested to connect with me that way.
Well, awesome. I totally thank you for being on our show and for your such amazing outlook on just life and helping people out there. And we're real honored to have had you on our show today.
Yes, Jeffrey, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope you and your family truly enjoy the holiday and spend some time being thankful and grateful for everything we have in life.
I'm thankful that we've connected. This has been great, guys. Hope we can do it again.
Yes, thank you.
We'll head into commercial, and we'll be right back with Legal Eagle and the
Are you
Coach.
one of those people who deal with issues that life throws at you on a daily basis? Then you need to tune into Life's Issues to hear Lloyd Rosen get the answers to those nagging problems. Begin to turn your life into that positive journey you've always wanted. You've always had the ability. Now get the information to complete the journey. Tune in every Thursday afternoon at 1:30 p.m. Central Time to hear Lloyd ask the questions that get the answers you are looking for. Lloyd wants to help those that are dealing with life's issues. Check out Lloyd's blog at lloydrosen.com for more information about daily problems.
Feeling burnt out or lost on where to go next? Feeling like you own a job instead of a business, or that your business is running you instead of you running it? Expert business advisor Mike Calderwood can help. Mike uses a personalized, strategic, and proven approach to help you identify what is and isn't working in your business. He'll then help you establish an action plan so your business can thrive. Mike Calderwood, providing you straightforward solutions to gain a real advantage in your business. Learn more at MikeCalderwood.net. If you know someone who wants the legal A-team on their side, have them call on Altenburn and Associates, the Legal Eagle, today. David Altenburn is an experienced and recognized top lawyer in Houston who will put an eagle's eye to protecting the client's best interests at all times. For any personal injury, family law, or business law concern, Altenburn and Associates can help with our connections that count and make a difference for great results. We work hard for the justice our clients deserve, earning client trust and opponent respect, one case at a time. For legal help, call 281-904-6330 today.
I believe we're back with Legal Eagle and the Coach, and we have Olympian Sean Townsend. Are you with us?
Ma'am.
Sean, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Enjoying the holidays.
Great.
Excellent. How's the golf game?
It's pretty good. I'm actually on the golf course right now.
Excellent.
Well, you know,
that
it's
the Legal
first.
Eagle and I totally condone that activity.
Yes, I am I'm a wannabe golfer myself. Love the game. Used to live on a golf course and totally relate. But you know, you've just hit a great first for Legal Eagle and the coach to be our first guest coming in from a golf course as we get ready for the one of the greatest of the holidays, Thanksgiving, with our family and our friends. Could you help our audience learn a little bit of your journey to how, you know, where you've had your struggles and your successes in life, your adventures?
Well, I was obviously in gymnastics for over 20 years. After I retired from gymnastics, I went into the coaching business. Currently, still coaching 60 boys is the program I'm coaching. And I'm looking to expand and do my own thing. I'm actually in the process of doing a pretty big project that's going to involve helping kids on a big project I'm working on.
It's a huge project. It's a huge project. It's going to be awesome.
Yes, it's going to be called Pro Style Gymnastics Ranch, and it's going to be a summer sports camp, a training center, and hopefully we'll launch it by 2016.
Excellent. Yeah.
Great. Now, is it going to bring the best of gymnasts across the country? How do they get invited to be at your special sabbatical camp, the summer program, to get to their striving of excellence?
Well, anybody can go that's involved in gymnastics, all the way from ages, I would say, 8 to 16, and then on the downtime, not in the summer, during the fall and the winter, I'm going to try to have an elite training center to have hopefully some of the best gymnasts in the world train there year-round.
Okay. And where's the location where you're going to have your special camps or your training center?
We're looking actually in Huntsville, Texas.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about your journey in gymnastics. When you started, there was a little more wind on the golf course or something. You're coming in much clearer now. But could you tell us a little bit about your journey to get to the top of that field in gymnastics?
Well, gymnastics is a lifelong sport. You know, people can't just, you know, pick it up within a few months and be competitive. It takes lifelong lessons and repetition in order to be one of the best gymnasts in the world. And I started at 10 years old. I was pretty talented. I was 5-time state champion, and then had to make a pretty big decision in my life when I was 15 years old. I wasn't able to get to the gym every day. And I actually moved away from home, from Dallas, and then I moved to Houston without my family. I lived with my coach and pursued the journey of making the Olympic team. And then my dream came true, obviously, 5 years later. When I was 21 years old, I made the Olympic team.
And which Olympics did you participate in?
Sydney, Australia.
Awesome place. Awesome Olympics. Congratulations. That's amazing. I mean, that has got to be, unspeakable to reach your dream at age 21 when, you know, Dallas may have a television show, but you did move to a greater city in Houston. Let me shout out to my fellow H-towners out there. You're in the best city in the world, melting pot from people all over the world. So, did you have particular mentors or coaches that helped you achieve that greatness?
Yes, I've been very fortunate. I've had a lot of really good coaches that have supported me. I've had probably about eight coaches. One stands out more than any of them. That's Kevin Brendon. He's actually he was the 3-time Olympic head coach the last 3 Olympics. Very successful man, and I learned a lot from him.
So is that kind of what spawned you to want to give back now and do your training program and do your special summer camps?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm kind of not stuck in the sport, but I feel like I want to give back from what it's taught me, more than just gymnastics, but life lessons, and I obviously want to give back to the community, especially the gymnastics community, but more so kids than adults.
Well, my co-host, Brian Kaiser, you're pretty accomplished in the world of gymnastics as well here in Houston, right?
Yes. In fact, I share part of Sean's story of his journey to making that Olympic team, because I was the president of the Glenn Michael Sims Scholarship Foundation, which helped him fund some of his training and his schooling and all that while he was on that journey to the Olympic Games. And I've known Sean since he was 10 or 11. And followed his career.
You've gotten to see his rise to the top then.
Yeah, and after the Olympic Games, he went on, and he's a humble guy. Obviously, you can tell that. He went on to make a World Championship team in 2001, where he actually completed another goal of his, which was to become a world champion, and he won a gold medal on the parallel bars there at the World Championships. So he's quite an accomplished guy. He was brief in his summary. Hopefully, we can get him in a journey to success, and he can give us the full ins and outs of the journey, because it was a struggle at times for him and the training and everything else that went on. But,
well, they say life is about sacrifice and dedication and all the things we talk about, and I think we see it most in our great athletes. And so to have a guest today that made those sacrifices, you talked about moving from Dallas to Houston, you talked about your coaches. For someone who has a young child out there that thinks that, gymnastics is where I want my child, or maybe the child's interest is greatly in gymnastics, can you give us a little summary of what you would recommend as they start at a young age, what it takes to get to the top?
Well, it takes patience. People in sports, they think that they can just climb up the ladder really fast, and gymnastics is a long journey sport. The longevity of it is very hard. It's straining. Your body gets beat up. People don't understand that. A lot of these young kids, have shoulder problems and stretch fractures in their back at 15 years old, and they end up quitting at a young age. And so you got to be very, very careful on how much you push these kids at a young age, because most male gymnasts don't peak until they're in their mid-20s. Girls gymnastics is a little bit different, because they want to obviously peak at a young age before they go through puberty. But male gymnasts, it's just a long journey, and you got to just stick with it through the good times and the bad times.
Now, is that as far as peaking as a male gymnast in the mid-20s, does that have to do with, in sports you look at strength, you look at quickness sometimes, or agility, and then you look at, flexibility, speed. There's a number of characteristics of great athletes, whatever the sport, and each sport's a little different. But for gymnastics, can you explain a little why there is that difference? For example, for men in the mid-20s, is it about strength, and for girls at a much younger age, is it more about flexibility, or can you explain?
Yeah, male, it's more about, like you said, strength and power. Obviously, when they go through puberty, men get stronger, and that's whenever we become better gymnasts.
Okay.
Girls, when they go through puberty, they get, no offense, they get a little bit bigger, and they get a little bit slower. So they want to be young, quick, and fast at a young age, and not like the men where they want to be powerful, more strong at an older age.
Well, we like to say our show is educational, and that's great education for some of us that haven't been that close to gymnastics, and for the audience out there that wants to learn these things for raising their children. So that's been great pointers. And then your coaches, that's obviously very important, I guess, the selection of your coaches. Can you tell us how you went about selecting yours?
Selecting my
coaches. Those that helped train you, helped, look at you carefully and maybe videotape you and give you the fine traits that are necessary to excel and get to the top of your profession.
Yeah, I think, like I said, my coach, Kevin Majika, was a very strategic and master at planning. And I think 100% all successful athletes are based on a good plan.
Okay.
And I teach that to my boys. You know, we have a big schedule up on the board, and that we write, you know, plans on it so they can see it in front of their faces. And if you follow that plan, then there's no reason why you can't be successful and reach your goals.
Yeah.
And
in business, we talk about make a plan and, you know, plan your work and then work your plan. And you're bringing that point home. And then the strategic part, you know, we always talk about don't just work hard, work smart. And I think that's kind of what you're focusing on here is that it takes a lot of planning. It takes a certain amount of strategy in addition to all the repetition in the work.
Yes, exactly. And you got to watch out because some people, you know, you want to follow the plan to a T, and it's okay to tweak the plan a little bit. That's one thing that we were really good at because say you don't feel good, say your shoulder is hurting that day, you want to lay off of that plan or that strategy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a great point too. Is that in business we have to be agile and we have to be flexible and we have to be honest enough with ourselves to sometimes slightly change our plan, as you say, tweak the plan for a variety of reasons if we really want to excel. And so these points that deal with the athletic field, I think, do translate well to business and to life. What do you think, Brian, on this?
Oh, I think you're exactly right, and you know, Sean will attest. And you know, people look up to athletes, and I'm really appreciative that Sean came on our show because you know, when we think of the great athletes, sometimes we think of the Michael Jordans and the Mannings and you know, people like this, and the struggle that these athletes, be it a gymnast, be it a basketball player or a football player, the struggles that they go through are all the same. And Sean can tell you that to get to the top, and it's very important for the business people in our audience listening, to get to the top, you have to put in the time to practice. You have to put in the time to do the work. You have to allow yourself time to heal from the times you fall down and go boom. Mm-hmm. And you have to be able to progress through a plan. And a lot of us, the people I work with, a lot of people, they have an outline of a plan, but they don't have a specific plan. And if you talk to Sean and if you really get in depth into what he did, he can tell you right down to the minutes he spent on each exercise, doing each thing, because it was totally planned out. And that's what made the difference in his success. I think we will see.
Well, and you know, we talk about dedication, we talk about perseverance, and one thing I'd like to focus back in here on our guest is when he used the word repetition. You know, there's a great advertisement we've alluded to a few times from Akeem Olajuwon years ago where it had all these single words dealing with what it took, you know, hard work, dedication, all these things, and at the very end it said repeat. And it always struck me that that's what a real champion does is work these plans, fine-tune these plans, but repeat. And our guest, can you share with us additional messages you'd like our audience to hear about how you approach you know, your field?
Well, I think you guys have hit it on the nose. You know, another thing I want to add is obviously when you're following that plan, you want to be 100% confident in that plan. And I think that your mindset has to be in the right place.
Good point, Sean. Great point.
In the right place. Exactly. Very, very well. You know, they say, even in great athletes, the difference between success and lack of great success is often confidence. And confidence comes from a variety of things. It comes from preparation, and it comes from, like you say, just the proper mindset, a positive outlook, a vision that you're going to have success at the end of your you know, activity or the end of what you're doing. You know, they say, you know, if you can't think it, you can't get there. If you can't visualize it, you can't really get there. I mean, is that kind of how you felt as you went about your gymnastics?
Yes, I mean, when you're stepping on the competition floor, your heart's pounding 100 miles an hour, and there was two words I always told myself before I raised my hand to do my routine, and that was be calm and confident. Those two words right there settled my heart rate down. And then, of course, I believed in all my preparation and training, and I went out there and did the best job I could do and nailed my routines.
Wow. I love it. I love it. That's great. Be calm. You know, we talk about you got to get to your zen. You got to get to your special place of peace. Be calm. Love it. Be confident. Absolutely love it. You've got to be confident as you go about in the world and do what you do. You got to believe in yourself. I mean, you got to believe in yourself and the work you've put in. And, you know, the other thing I think you raised, and I'd like you to share a little more with, is it takes a team. You know, as we listen here, you had many coaches along the way, and as you put together your program for the age groups you've discussed, your special camps, would you agree it takes a team to get you to be the best that you can be?
Yes, of course. I mean, everybody wants to be a little bit selfish and think about themselves, but I wouldn't be successful if I didn't have supporters by my side. And, you know, you got to have that camaraderie in this sport, especially because you can't do it alone. You got to have help in life and sports. And
absolutely,
that's a big reason why I'm very successful.
The theme of today is gratitude, and it's the gratitude of those around us. Not everyone's the star, not everyone's in the limelight, but for each of us, as we seek to get to that special place of success and true happiness, you know, we need to be grateful and thankful, and we need to express our thanks to those that support us and help us get to the places that we get.
Yes.
So, what other thoughts you have or questions, Mr. Kaiser?
Well, we've got to wrap up this segment here, and Sean, I know you have a competition out there. If you could let everyone know how to get in touch with you, and also about your competition that you hold. There'll be, I guess, next year in 2015. Actually, will be the next competition at the Townsend Cup. But give people some ways to get in touch with you and find out about your competition.
Yes, I host an invitational in March. I think it's going to be March 11th this year. It's on a Sunday. You guys can reach me at townsendcup.com. That's the name of my competition, is the Townsend Cup. And I'll be happy to answer any questions, give you guys some more feedback on just the sport of gymnastics if you want. And I want to thank, Tony and Brian for having me on the show. It's been an honor and a pleasure.
Well, thank you so much for being on Legal Eagle and the Coach. We've really enjoyed visiting with you, and for you to have achieved your great success and still maintain your very, very humble outlook on it all is very refreshing, and it's an image of great athletes that we would wish we could have for all athletes, because in all individuals that we come across. It's been an honor to have you on our show. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Brian.
We'll be back after this commercial to wrap up another show of Legal Eagle and the Coach.
Join Dr. Alan Simberg and his guests every Tuesday from 3 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on Life-Changing Insights. Life-Changing Insights is a show dedicated to providing its listeners with self-improvement information that has a positive effect on an individual's mental, physical, and spiritual being, as well as unresolved relationship issues. For more information or to be a guest on Life-Changing Insights, go to Life-Changing Insights with DrAlanSimberg.com. Life-Changing Insights every Tuesday from 3 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on the Tough Talk Radio Network.
Join Judy Hoberman on her radio show, Selling in a Skirt, Mondays at noon Central, for exciting discussions about challenges for women in today's society. The talk is about women in business, work and life balance, leadership, and current events related to gender communication. Be prepared to be inspired, motivated, and challenged. Selling in a Skirt with Judy Hoberman on the Tough Talk Radio Network is your connection to women nationally, internationally, and globally. So get comfy and see what the buzz is all about. Listen live on Mondays at noon by going to sellinginskirt.com.
Listen to the Legal Eagle and the Coach each Wednesday from noon to 1 p.m. on Tough Talk Radio Network. Leading local and national experts in business will share their keys to success so that our listening audience can be educated and entertained along the way to becoming all they can be. So whether you're new to business or highly experienced, The Legal Eagle and the Coach with hosts David Alterburn and Brian Kaiser is a great radio program for you. For more information, go to legaleagleandthecoachradio.com.
Well, David, I think we're back for the last segment. Have I got my Legal Eagle host there, co-host? All right. Well, yes, David dropped off the line there for a second, so we'll try to get him back. But wrapping up the show, we want to really go back and refocus on the mission of today, and that was to focus on gratitude, being thankful for what we're doing going into the holidays, and having our lives surrounded with people that are exceptional and provide us with happiness and joy. So we really thank Jeff for being on the program.
Hello.
And David, are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me now, Brian?
I can hear you. Welcome back, sir.
The Legal Eagle has landed again, and sorry I came offline there a little bit. Please finish up with your final thoughts, and I'll throw in a few myself.
No, I was just touching on the gratitude, and you and I had we usually banter back and forth, and I didn't know you weren't there for a second, so I threw out something, and I got dead air, and I was like, oh my goodness, what to do now?
Well,
so, no, I was just focusing back on gratitude, and like Brendon said, when you walk in the grounds of gratitude, you enter the palace of happiness, and I think that's the thought of the day as we wrap up the show. We had a extraordinary guest with Jeffrey Rasley coming in and telling about his philanthropy efforts and how he got from being an attorney for 30 years, practicing in your field, and going into something where he has a very deep passion of teaching people and helping people in countries that aren't as successful as ours.
Well, yes, and what fascinated me is that we say it takes a village to raise someone, and what he found out in his search is that it also takes a village to resolve disputes, that what we call mediation in our legal system, which has transformed cases from taking 5 years in litigation to get to trial down to only a year to year and a half typically to get to trial here in Houston, Texas, that he found in ancient communities that they had been using essentially mediation to resolve dispute for ages. And what also fascinated by our first guest is that we live in a busy world, especially here in the United States.
Oh, I think we've lost the eagle again. But not a problem. Hopefully he will call back and wrap up the show here in our final 3 minutes. Want to remind everybody that we do have our first edition of our first publication, rather, Journey to Success, which you can go online and to the website of www.ajourney2success.com, and it's very simple. You just put in your name and your email address, and then we'll send you the application and everything you need to get in the book. It's 2,000 words, and we want your story. We want to know who you are and how you got to where you are now in life, and we want to hear every intimate detail of your journey to being a success. So as we head into the end of the show, really want to thank Sean Townsend. I've known him for many years. He's a great kid and now a great man, great dad, and really excited about working with him on his project coming up, Pro Style Gymnastics Camp, where he's going to allow kids from Texas, because there's not a camp like it in Texas, allow kids from this area to come out and experience things that he's gotten to experience on his journey to being an Olympian. Very exciting stuff that we've gotten to talk about today, but really want to go back and focus on the gratitude. Be thankful for Thanksgiving, family, friends. It's going to be an exciting time. Reflect look at where you are and who you are. See if you've surrounded yourself with the right people. If you haven't, then there's people like the Legal Eagle and myself that can also put you in front of and get you connected with the right people so that you can prosper and be happy on your journey through life. So we wrap up another show here at Legal Eagle and the Coach. It is exciting to head into Thanksgiving. I wish you all the best. Enjoy the turkey and your family and friends. We will see you next week on Legal Eagle and the Coach.
You have been listening to Legal Eagle and the Coach with David Altenburn and Brian Kaiser on the Tough Talk Radio Network. Special thanks to all of our sponsors. If you'd like to be a sponsor or a guest, visit toughtalkradionetwork.com.